Okay, so today we're going over something that, as a consumer with negative items on your credit report, you should definitely know about, and that is going to be CUSHMAN versus TransUnion from 1997. Okay, so we are going to go over this, and I want to show you just a couple of things here. Okay, so this appeal concerns, among other issues, the extent of a consumer reporting agency's obligation pursuant to Section 611A of the FCRA to conduct a reasonable investigation of information on a consumer's credit report. And this is a re-investigation. You see, this person had identity theft. They had to go above and beyond and do everything, including a writing sample to prove that they were not liable for these debts. Now, so many people think that the bureaus are there to help you and that they're on your side. They're going to remove these. No, they have zero incentive to do this. And this entire lawsuit just proves everything. So sometimes there's a place and time for using lawsuits and for referencing things and violations and whatnot. And this is one of those things that you should kind of get acquainted with if you have negative items, because you can use this. I use this all the time. So we're going to go and find a couple of different things. Now, this has congressional opinion in it and a bunch of stuff. We're not going to go through the entire thing, but it says, we hold that the district court erred to the extent that it concluded as a matter of law that defendant TransUnion fulfilled its obligation under 1681IA. Therefore, we will reverse and remand the district court's grant of judgment as a matter of law on plaintiff appellant Jennifer Cushman's claim for negligent noncompliance with that section. All right, so let's go and we're going to find a couple of different things. Now, there's more than 8 pages to this. I condensed this to these specific 8 pages because I'm not trying to send a bunch of pages with my disputes or attached to my complaints. So let's go and find a couple of these different things that we are going to point out, and we're going to come back. Okay, so we're going to go and kind of mark up the screen here. So, second letter to TransUnion reiterating her disagreement with the facts contained in the credit report and offering to sign affidavits for TransUnion to the fact that the delinquencies were not hers. Imagine for a second that you are a victim of identity theft and that you actually have to go through this entire thing just to prove that this is not yours, that you shouldn't be held liable and all this other kind of stuff. This is just so not fair, and it just proves everything that I have been saying for years. Okay. So anyways, TransUnion simply performed a reinvestigation identical to the first one, but did nothing more. The credit report was not changed. At no time did TransUnion provide Cushman with a description of its reinvestigation procedures, because as you know, or maybe you don't know, that basically what happens is via eOscar, which is an electronic communication from one computer to another. It's just comparing what one computer has versus the other. And it's always going to be the same. Why? Because that is where they're getting that information from. And therefore, there's no investigation and there's also no reinvestigation. Now, this part is really, really, really important. Cushman brought this action in the district court alleging negligent and willful failure to reinvestigate the disputed entries in violation of sections, and there's a bunch of them, 611A, 616, 617 of the FCRA, 1681IA, 1681N, 1681O, violations of VFCRA, VT, STAT, a bunch of other crap. Subsequently, in April of 1995, TransUnion verified the information with Citibank and placed the Citibank entry back on Cushman's report. So now we have them literally violating by putting this back on the credit report, and this is not hers, okay? So how can you use this? And we are nowhere near done, but how can you use this? We can use this just very simply to prove that they don't do their job. They don't care, okay? When you're asking for an investigation, that's one thing. But we're going to go over the part where it literally says that they have the grave responsibility to ensure the accuracy of the credit report, and that they have to go beyond just saying that it's accurate. Okay. So in the event that you dispute something, comes back as verified, and you ask for a reinvestigation, congressional opinion was that they have to go beyond just comparing one source against the other. All right. So let me go and find that part. Okay, I love this part. The FCRA was enacted in order to ensure that consumer reporting agencies adopt reasonable procedures for meeting the needs of commerce for credit, consumer credit, personal insurance, and other information in a manner which is fair and equitable to the consumer with regard to confidentiality, accuracy, relevancy, and proper utilization of such information. Now, in case you did not know, the FCRA was prompted by congressional concern over abuses in the credit reporting industry. Okay, you ready for the magic part of this? Let's go and look at this. Okay, so the obligations prescribed by subsections B and C are triggered only after the reinvestigation pursuant to subsection A does not resolve the dispute. This presupposes that a reasonable investigation has already been completed and the dispute nonetheless remains unresolved. A consumer alleging that no reasonable reinvestigation has taken place has a separate claim pursuant to 1681 IA. We now turn to the questions of a consumer reporting agency's obligation pursuant to 1681 IA and a plaintiff's burden of proving a claim of negligent noncompliance with that subsection. TUC, meaning TransUnion, contends that 1681 IA did not impose on an obligation to do any more than perform the reinvestigation it performed in this case. That is, TransUnion believes that when a consumer informs a consumer reporting agency that the information contained in her consumer report is inaccurate, the consumer reporting agency is obliged only to confirm the accuracy of the information with the original source of the information. Remember how I said that it's basically just one computer talking to another computer and it's, hey, is this the information you have? Yeah, it is. Okay, that's it. Thank you. Have a nice day. No, that is not correct. This position has been rejected by the United States Courts of Appeals for the 5th and 7th Circuits. Now we're going to drop down just a little bit more. In Henson, a state court judgment docket erroneously stated that an outstanding judgment had been entered against the plaintiff. Two credit reporting agencies included the erroneous entry on their consumer credit reports regarding the plaintiff. I'm going to jump down. Let's see. Section 1681EB requires the consumer reporting agencies to follow reasonable procedures to assure maximum possible accuracy of the information contained in the credit report. Now, the 7th Circuit upheld the district court's dismissal of 1681EB claim. However, the court reversed the district court's dismissal of 1681I claim, distinguishing between the duties imposed by the two sections of the statute. It stated that a credit reporting agency that has been notified of potentially inaccurate information in a consumer's credit report is in a very different position than one who has no such notice, right? Someone who knows versus someone who does not know. The CRA may initially rely on public court documents because to rely otherwise would be burdensome and inefficient. However, such exclusive reliance may not be justified once they already know. Okay, that's different. Know versus not knowing. Receives notice that the consumer disputes information contained in his credit report. When a CRA receives such notice, it can target its resources in a more efficient manner and conduct a more thorough investigation. And obviously, they do not do that. Okay, so let's go find some other juicy stuff here. In this case, similar to the situation here, the consumer sign. Okay, it is past here. I believe it is on page 6. We are on page 5. Okay, consumer reporting agency conduct further investigation occurs only the cost of reinvestigating the one piece of disputed information. Okay, so this obviously has to do with them saving money. We agree with the cogent observation by the 5th Circuit that the plain language of the statute places, here it is, are you ready? Places the burden of reinvestigation on the consumer reporting agency. The FCRA evinces Congress's intent that the CRA, having the opportunity to reap profits through the collection and dissemination of credit information, bear grave responsibility, 15 U.S.C. 1681A4, to ensure the accuracy of that information. The grave responsibility imposed by 1681IA must consist of something more than merely parroting information received from other sources. Therefore, a reinvestigation that merely shifts the burden back to the consumer and the credit grantor cannot fulfill the obligation obligations contemplated by the statute. In addition to these observations, we note that TransUnion's reading of 1681 IA would require that it only replicate the efforts it must undertake in order to comply with 1681 EB. Such a reading would render the two sections largely duplicate of each other. We strive to avoid a result that would render statutory language superfluous, meaning that it's all the same, meaningless or irrelevant. Okay, so TransUnion is mistaken. All right, blah blah blah. Notified by consumer of consumer. Okay, so there's so many gems in here. There's so many gems in here. I think that it would behoove you, it would benefit you to take a look at Cushman versus TransUnion, read through the whole thing, and come to your own conclusion. Okay, so we further hold that whether the credit reporting agency has a duty to go beyond the original source will depend on a number of factors. Whether the consumer has alerted the reporting agency to the possibility the source may be unreliable, or the reporting agency itself knows or should know that the source is unreliable. That's pursuant to 623. A source versus the possible harm inaccurately reported information may cause the consumer. Whatever considerations exist, it is for the trier of fact to weigh these factors in deciding whether the defendant violated the provisions of Section 1681I. You have to realize that, again, they have zero incentive to remove anything. It costs them money. Their job is to make money. It is not to lose money. And, that's why they have all these lawsuits. The entire thing behind this is understanding that as a consumer, you have due process to dispute this inaccurate information, but it is up to you to actually do something about this. You have to actually work and go and fight and then win. Okay. This person literally had to give samples of writing and prove that this was not her. Okay. It's much more than just sending a letter, going to the CFPB and saying, wham, bam, thank you, ma'am. That's it. All right. If it were like that, there wouldn't be lawsuits. If it were like that, there wouldn't be 16 million people with bad credit. If there were like that, you wouldn't be watching this video, right? I mean, just be real for a second. Okay. So no, I'm not yelling at you, but I am just trying to prove that when you put some work into this, yeah, you can get this done. I've removed 50,000 negative items from credit reports over the last 4 years, okay? But, to basically just think that you are going to write one letter or two or three and that you're going to get your things removed, I mean, it doesn't work, all right? It doesn't work like that. I wish it did. My life would be easier. I'd be a fazillionaire and everybody would go home happy, okay? But that is a different conversation for another day. I hope you have a great one. I am going to get this online right now. And in case you didn't know, I have a brand new course. It is discounted until Friday night because on Saturday it is going to be released. So right now it is pre-order. If you want to save 45%, you can use the link down in the description, but it is sendme2.co/toolkit. All right. And this is a beginner's course on credit repair. And I know that it is going to be bombastic for you if you actually need help. Otherwise, the link is right there. Free consultation, my740.com, if you want to see if I could potentially do your credit sweep for you. And we do this call very simply because I choose every single client for my program. I do not overwhelm myself with clients. So the ones that I have are the ones that I chose, and the ones that I chose, I did for a reason. Okay. So I hope you have a wonderful day. If you want to learn more about Cushman versus TransUnion and how you can potentially use this, then you're gonna want to check out that course. Okay. Send me to .co/toolkit for the ultimate toolkit, which is including an app, the letters, and the how-to. All right. So have a great one. And